And we're back here on the Charles River. Just saw the Harvard Heavy Sweet Brown, top to bottom, keep the Stein Cup. And now we're on to the Biglin Bowl. Harvard lightweight crew taking on Dartmouth and MIT. We'll bring you the first varsity, second varsity, and hopefully the freshman aid as well. That is generator battery conducive. But then also you'll see second freshman race later on for this Harvard lightweight crew. Again, they beat Georgetown, lost to Delaware in a three-team race last week. And now another three-team race here, as it looks like we're off to a quick start on the Harvard Varsity 8 boat, coxed by James Dreeben. The stroke is Nico Astrup-Wilk, Michael Wales in the 7 seat, Thomas Marshall in the 6, Jack Kelly in the 5, Alexander Bonoris in the 4, Ian Klein in the 3, 2 seat is Samuel Frum, and the bow is Christopher Wales for Harvard. Dave, the wind today really should affect the lightweight boats a lot more than it did the heavyweight boats.
Yeah, it's going to be really challenging for the guys.
Like, this is not the Harvard lightweight crew, by the way. This is the race in between. There's a women's meet going on here as well. So the Harvard lightweight crew will be the next race to go, Varsity 8.
Yeah,
but Dave, as we're talking about the headwind, how it can really push around these boats for the lightweight units.
Yeah, and it looks like the wind is picking up too as we progress throughout the day. It's just going to make staying together more challenging. It's going to get a little wetter in the boat, and push down the rate as well. You'll start to get tight in your forearms and shoulders as you tense up from battling the wind and potentially water. So yeah, no, it's going to be tough to deal with the conditions and the opponent at the same time.
We'll take a look at kind of what to expect today in the Biglin Bowl. Mentioned Harvard comes in their first varsity, fell to Delaware, beat Georgetown last week. 2 seconds behind 7th-ranked Delaware. Harvard came in ranked number 3 in the country. Their second varsity also fell to Delaware last week. Third varsity beat Delaware, and the freshmen beat Georgetown. There was no Delaware boat in the freshman race. Meanwhile, for MIT, they raced in the Joy Cup last week, lost by 0.4 seconds to Yale, their varsity 8 boat. Got to be tough to bounce back from such a close loss when you empty the tank like that.
Yeah, it can be. And the Delaware crews have become feistier and feistier over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And racing them has become a more and more of a challenge on the Crimson schedule.
MIT did beat Georgetown last week, so each race in their Joy Cup went Yale 1, MIT 2, Georgetown 3. Meanwhile, for Dartmouth, they're always a speedy group, but they also lost to Delaware last week. It's a good weekend for Delaware last weekend. Varsity 8 lost to Delaware. They did win at the second varsity level for Dartmouth.
Yeah, and Dartmouth crews, regardless of weight class, are feisty, and they're well coached, and it's a long winter up there, so you know they're going to be fit. And so, you know, they battled the same thing that the Harvard crews did, which is getting on the water late. So we're probably going to see a couple crews that are really, really fit, and it given the conditions, whoever's going to be able to row together and well in these conditions is going to walk away the winner.
Yeah, we'll step aside quickly here on the Ivy League Digital Network. We'll be back with the lightweight crew. First Varsity 8 race coming up. That is next on the Ivy League Digital Network.
We've got
hold
4
on.
freshmen.
And we're back here at the Charles River, Harvard and Dartmouth and MIT in the Biglin Bowl. We have Dave Peresky with me, Bill Spalding here, and some changes in the Harvard boat, going with a young unit in this first varsity race.
Yeah, sounds like they made a couple switches after the Delaware race last week. Evidently, they've got 4 freshmen in the boat now, and given the new rule changes allowing freshmen to row in the upper boats, coaches across the country have been experimenting with seeing if freshmen make their top boats faster.
Yeah, what do you think that's going to do to the sport? Do you think most coaches will kind of stick with the tradition of keeping their freshmen in the freshman boat, or do you think you'll see a lot of coaches and a lot of boats start to experiment with their top freshmen in the top boats?
It's pretty varied. Earlier today, we saw Brown and Harvard do it what I would call the right way, which is keep freshmen separate. But you've got crews like Princeton and Yale who have fully integrated their freshmen and producing fast boats as well. So, you know, it goes on a program by program basis. We've got the white flag.
Dartmouth, MIT.
And we're off.
What type of stroke count do you expect at the lightweight level here early?
Mid to high 40s. It looks like you've got MIT jumping out to a quick lead, probably in first right now, and Harvard and Dartmouth probably level.
MIT had a very good weekend last weekend, beating Georgetown and falling by just 0.4 seconds to Yale. Their first boat, coxed by Allie Finkelstein. Their stroke is Tom Altman, Michael Tucker in the 7, Lee Mountain the 6, Luke Koblon in the 5, Ijan Zakia in the 4, Chris Scheplefer in the 3, Peter Augustiak in the 2, and the bow is Christopher Knapp. Meanwhile, Dartmouth comes in 0-1, lost to Delaware last week. They'll row here again tomorrow against Columbia. It was moved from down in Connecticut to right back here in the Charles. Their first boat, coxed by Janine Jablonski, Austin Hayes in the stroke seat, Ian Delaney in seat 7, Dylan Rich in 6, Julian Danziger in 5, Chris Tinsman in 4, Nicholas Pugliarsi in 3, David White in 2, and the bow is Walter Banfield.
Yeah, the Harvard crew stayed high. It looks like Xander's got him rowing at a 39 or so, and they've moved out to a lead here. They've really countered the MIT move in the second 250, and
Dartmouth's boat's gotten some separation off to the left, so they've got some cleaner water around them than what MIT and Harvard seem to be stroking through, much closer to each other on the far side.
Yeah, it does look that way, though it could, the farther out you get as we move past the bridge, it could get a little rougher for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coxswain's got to keep these guys together, but it looks like the MIT and Harvard coxswains have done a great job of staying in their lanes. With the wind, it can be pretty challenging. You just saw there the Dartmouth crew hit a wake. The waves are getting a little bigger here. Yeah. It makes it more and more challenging. Looks like the MIT crew's countered the Harvard move here as Harvard settles.
Yeah, it's been a very close start here. This is where we saw in the heavies, the Harvard heavy boats make some big moves in these middle 1,000 meters towards the bridge, and Harvard and MIT neck and neck as we come up past the quarter mark and towards the midway point at the bridge.
Yeah, it looks like Harvard and MIT have a length on the Dartmouth crew now, and MIT is probably pulled level. They're fighting pretty well here, and I think understroking the Harvard crew.
Strong headwind, and it's really going to make the final 1,000 tough for these lightweight boats. Nobody more than 160 pounds on in any of these boats, so they can get blown around by the wind a bit more and have to fight extra hard on those last few strokes in the final 500, where you'll really just have to empty the tank today.
Yeah, I've got MIT at 35 or so and Harvard at 38 or so, and it looks like they've been about level for the last 200 meters, coming through the 1,000 at 3:18 or so.
A couple of Washington Nationals fans in the Dartmouth boat have the Nationals hats on as they stroke underneath the bridge at the midway point, and Harvard and MIT are still neck and neck for first for the Biglin Bowl.
Looks like we've got a 1 second or so margin for the Harvard crew. And these two are really going to have to duke it out for this last 1,000. They've separated themselves from Dartmouth.
When you're this close, neck and neck, heading towards this final 500, is it really a game of chicken of who's going to make the first move?
It can be, and it, unfortunately for the Harvard crew at the moment, it looks like the MIT crew has understroked them for most of the race. And so when you think about going up, MIT probably has a little more room to go up than the Harvard crew. But it does look like Harvard has moved out a little bit again, taking a move in this third 500. And meanwhile, they've moved out pretty significantly on the Dartmouth crew. Dartmouth seems to be sort of an afterthought at the moment.
Crimson head coach for lightweight crew in his second year, Michael Bartman, gold medalist in 1996, 3-time Olympic medalist. He watches from afar as Harvard still has a seat to 2-seat lead here as we approach the final quarter of this race. Harvard and MIT neck and neck coming down to the wire here in the Charles.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a Harvard-MIT race like this in quite some time. MIT seems to have really stepped it up this year. And the Harvard crew, with a bunch of freshmen in there, seems to also be really bringing it today.
Yeah, this is the year MIT's built for. 6 seniors in this varsity 8 boat for MIT.
Yeah, and it does look like we've crossed the 1,500 in about 5:08, and the race is close enough where it's who wants it.
Dartmouth a few boat lengths behind. It's all between Harvard and MIT for the Biglin Bowl as they come down to the wire.
I've got MIT at 37 now, and Harvard is out overstroking them. They might have just gone up. I've got them at 39.
Looks like they might be separating just a bit too. Is this the Harvard move for the finish here?
It could be. With lightweight racing, it's always incredibly close. Yeah. I mean, you've got 8 guys all about the same height and about the same weight, and so it's always traditionally closer racing than the heavyweights. And yeah,
here's a surge back from MIT, neck and neck, almost bow to bow as they approach the finish.
Yeah, this one will be pretty close.
MIT lost by 0.4 of a second last week. They're trying to return the favor to Harvard by taking a close win this week.
Yeah, Harvard definitely took their move early. It looks like they've still got a lead. I'm not sure the margin has changed too much, though.
Very close down to the wire. Harvard still with a very slight lead at the finish. MIT trying to surge to the flag.
Harvard up again, up at 42. Definitely making a last push for it. And we're waiting for the flag.
And the flag is down. Looks like Harvard just clipped MIT in an eyelash close race right there. Oh, that was so close.
Good to see that the Harvard crew could rebound from a tough loss last week.
Biglin Bowl stays with Harvard. Dartmouth well behind, probably about 8 to 10 seconds behind the Harvard and MIT boats. What a race, though, between the Crimson and the Engineers. Way it should be here on the Charles. We started down by MIT's campus. We end much closer to Harvard's campus, and it's the 2 home squads battling for the wire there.
Yeah, and
wait to get the official results. Would you guess less than a second difference there at the finish line look like?
Yeah, it was a tight one. Yeah, MIT gave everything to Harvard. They gave them all they could handle, and it looks like Harvard came away with it. Gutsy stroking there by Xander.
It'll bring you the official scoring, the official time difference at the end, but that Crimson lightweight boat holds on to the Biglin Bowl with just an epic performance at the end, and you can see, looking at some of the rowers hunched over a bit, they really left it all out there in that final 500 to hold on.
Yeah, challenging. And what we're looking at right now is, I think the shirt exchange, given that they row out of different boathouses, they might be pulling the boats together here so the Harvard guys can get the shirts from MIT. Looks like they didn't have them on board with them. Given how cold it is, it kind of doesn't make sense to row in those t-shirts.
Yeah.
And the wind is really picking up here. You can feel it. It's
especially once you get towards the finish. It's a little bit more contained over in the starting area, but out in the open water here by the Hyatt and by Boston University, it's pretty windy.
Yeah, it is. And it's only going to get worse, too, for the JV race.
Well, it's a good thing that they moved everything up today. Races started about 20 minutes earlier than they were originally scheduled. Got it in relatively clean in the heavyweight races. There was a headwind, but not an enormous headwind here. It's starting to gust. As we'll head back and bring you the second varsity race coming up. Harvard wins the Biglin Bowl and a very close win over MIT. Second varsity up next on the Ivy League Digital Network.